Hi, I'm Dave Betts, and I'm here with a good friend of mine, Dean Packham, who I think we've known each other for 20 years, Dean?
Yeah, well over 20 years.
Yeah, and we've seen the highs and the lows of life together. And I just thought it would be great to just chat really about this whole world that we've found ourselves in. But this isn't necessarily unique to you, Dean. There was 2008, and all the time between that and now. And so guys, we were just chatting just before we pressed the record button about you know well, you were saying how things can't be all the same again. Just
Yeah,
elaborate.
yeah. I was just saying really that I've been running my business in a certain way for quite some time, and it's easy to get caught up in doing the tasks, the kind of day-to-day management of stuff, without really thinking about where your business is going and is this using my talents in the best way possible. And actually having this lockdown at the moment where we've kind of lost half of our clients kind of short term is making me think about actually what is the way forward, how should we be doing stuff. And I'm just hoping through this lockdown, through this time out, that I just come out of it with some really positive stuff, some kind of ideas and some creative stuff that's been buried really just due to being busy always. So
Yeah.
I think it's something we were both saying about that, wasn't it?
Yeah, I said the same. I realized now that just how uncreative perhaps I've been,
Mm.
So for me, the last couple of days, just doing a few more podcasts, thinking about how do I sell more on video? Who would want to know more about that? How could I be more creative in the way I do business? How can I bring more of me? I realize that actually, with the running of life and certainly doing business where we are, we end up being less and less creative, and less of you is involved in the business. So
Mm.
I certainly don't want to come out of this time the same as I was when I went into it.
Mm.
I guess my greatest fear now is looking back and wasting a good crisis.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I want to look back and go, I made the most of that time
Mm.
once we're over the shock. So, I just thought it might be good for guys listening in. I know that, well, just for the guys who are listening in, one of the things I have always respected you, Dean, for is your resilience to come back up when you've been knocked down. And you've been knocked down a number of times in a number of ventures. And they always say a good entrepreneur is one that has failed a number of times. And another thing I always say to people is never trust a man unless he limps. And you are definitely a guy who I believe, has emulated resilience. Maybe just give us a very short potted history, perhaps, of your entrepreneurial days and the highs and the lows, as it were.
Okay. So as you say, most of that was failure. I think probably one of the most helpful things that I learned many, many years ago, which has really helped quite a lot, is something that Brian Tracy said, where he said your average millionaire in America has failed 17 times. So that's the average person who has made it financially or made it in business has had about 17 different failures. So that made me think I must be pretty close to that now. But I think probably it's worth mentioning just we were in church, weren't we, for years, running churches and stuff.
We were. Yep.
I was running a church up until 2003, and it was very, very clear that I was going to have to do something different. So I got out of that and I got into finance in terms of becoming a broker. Everything was going well. Then we had the credit crunch back in 2008, and selling mortgages was probably the worst possible job we could have back then. It's like nobody was buying, nobody was selling, nobody was doing anything. It was an absolute nightmare. And I'm married and I've got 4 kids, and income stopped very, very quickly. Things got very, very tough. And then you start to realize that actually doing the same thing as everyone else just is not going to work. Trying to get a job paying a good salary just isn't going to work, because that's what everyone else is doing. So I was kind of forced to kind of figure out, how can I make things work? What kind of business can I can I set up? And, just, yeah. So, that time spent with trying something, this doesn't work, going back. It's like Tim Ferriss says, failure is feedback. And once you kind of realize that when you fail, it just teaches you a way that something doesn't work. And I think if you get some kind of comfort in the fact that, hey, failure isn't actually something wrong, it's something everybody does, and you learn from that, you gradually start to learn how to actually get things right. I mean, babies, for instance, learn to walk through failure. They stand up and they fall over, and they try again and they try again, and then finally they're walking and then running. So it's something similar with business, that you just got to kind of learn from things, and certain things don't work and other things do. Anyway, so kind of forward now, I've got a...
Well, just to interrupt there,
yeah,
there's a guy called Tom Peters. You
Yeah.
may have heard of him. He's a guru that I business guru I grew up with, and he has this lovely phrase. He says, we've got to learn to fail forward.
Yeah.
The whole approach that if you're not failing, you're not moving forward, if you're
Yeah.
not making mistakes, and building that into the culture of who you are, that failure, as you've said so well, failure is not failure. Failure is part of the success process.
Yeah.
Would you agree? Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, I mean, that quote's similar to Jim Rohn's quote, isn't it? If I want to double my success rate, I have to double my failure rate. And it's
Love it.
Love it.
I love it.
Ways to fail completely. I think you get to a point where, just sometimes life puts you into a place where literally the rug has been pulled away from you. I was just saying to my wife the other day that both of us got to a point in March where our businesses, we both hit the top 3 months ever in terms of sales. We both felt like we got to a point where we'd iron out the kinks. We were just moving forward, and then suddenly this massive rug was pulled away from us. And then suddenly it's like, oh, okay, income's gone down massively. The business has now changed quite a bit. What do we do? And the choices are just to sit there and mope about it and say, oh no, it's this stupid virus, it's someone else's fault, it's something else's fault. Or just to take stock and say, right, okay, what can I actually look at here? I mean, so something, Dave, that might be good to share at the moment. I've just signed up for a workshop that I'm doing. We were talking about building skills and learning, and I've just signed up for a workshop, a guy called Frank Kern, who's a marketing guy, and it's a very good workshop. But something he said is, I have decided, or I have chosen over the last 20 years, not to be subject to the financial circumstances going on. Okay, so just literally is the fact, I'm not going to listen to the lie. Money's out there. It's just that money's transferred from one group of people to a different group of people. Yeah. I'm going to find these new people. So I signed up for this workshop, and he's doing this 30 days. Every day there's a video. And the cost of it is minimal. It's $100, and it's massively worth much more than that. The point is, I looked on the Facebook group to see how many people have actually signed up for this workshop since the 25th of March, right? So 2 weeks, 2,300 people have all paid him $100 each. That's $230,000. Wow. And he's just going through and he's creating videos. And I immediately thought, wow, that is a scalable way to do, like, for instance, workshops. I run workshops. Just imagine if I could get 2,300 people to the same workshop, which is quite feasible to do if you have the right marketing. And now he's kind of teaching how he actually gets people doing that. And then he's selling other products and services on that as well. So he's coining it. But the point is that most people say, oh, well, we're in this awkward situation. We've got this coronavirus. Poor me, I can't do anything. And I think we both sort of said, hey, we've kind of been around this block before somehow in a slightly different guise. And we just got to decide that we're not going to be subject to this.
So let's talk a little more about that, Dean. So 2008, you were in a mortgage environment, you were selling mortgages, and suddenly the rug's pulled. No one's buying mortgages. You find yourself back literally on your knees again financially. And then you reinvent yourself again, you claw back. And now, as you said, you just get to this place where business is starting to take place and you're hit again. Tell me about the mental state. Tell me about what's going on in your mind and in your heart. Maybe, how low do you go? And how do you pull yourself out? What are some of the things that have helped you pull yourself in a mental and emotional way?
Sure. Okay. I think probably the answer to that question is different now to what it was previously. So I think back in 2008, it was a sense of desperation and fear and despair. And there was lots of that going on, and it was kind of frantic, scrambling type attitudes. But I think now it's slightly different because of the fact, as you get older, things don't work quite so well. You don't run quite as fast. You don't.
I'm wearing glasses.
That's right. Your body doesn't kind of do the things you want it to do, but you do get wiser, and you start to realise, hang on a sec, this process just is not going to be helpful at all in terms of just being fearful. So I think probably the last 2 or 3 weeks, what have I done? I think obvious things that you do is you go through your budget and you look at costs you can cut. I had to sadly send my car back recently, which I sort of loved. I just realised that I'm not going to be driving anywhere for months anyway, so I can't really justify driving this car with work. So, kind of cutting costs, obviously. But I think also it's just looking at the fact, well, okay, my business at the moment, why have clients put us on pause? Have we not got a product or service that can get through the storm? Are they in the wrong kind of business for us? So, for instance, we've got some clients who are in the travel industry. So are we saying that certain industries aren't interested but others are? So just kind of looking at, okay, what kind of industries shouldn't we target at the moment? What industries should we target? But I think probably the key thing is that we've been talking through is the fact that, failure is feedback. This isn't really my fault, but there are some crucial learning points here. And the learning points are to say, well, okay, what kind of business is working? What presentation of business? Like at the moment, we're talking on Zoom. So actually, online business, online meetings, online products and services will be going up because that's how things are. So actually, that's almost, as Frank Kern said, money's going into those kinds of industries, whereas money's coming out of other industries. So how can I get involved with that more? What skills do I need that I don't currently have? And I've kind of realised there's several skills that I've always planned to learn those skills, but not learned. So now I'm going to do it.
Right. So what you're doing there, right? I don't know if you've even noticed it yourself, is you are continually asking questions.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're stopping and you're looking at normality and you're saying, how can I do this? What is preventing me? Where can I go? Where am I? You're taking the how, what, where, why, and who questions. So I would, from what I'm understanding, listening to you, is the first thing that we need to do in any situation where there's change is to take a pause and apply good questions.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. Right. Absolutely. Yeah, certainly.
Okay.
Doing that.
So you're asking yourself some good questions. Let's go back to the question: how does that help you with your thinking and then ultimately with your emotions?
Sure. I think the thing is you have to kind of. I think the thing is feelings are things that we have the power over, and there's this Bible passage talking about I take every thought captive to Christ. So basically talks about the fact that we're able to decide in some way what we do with a thought or a feeling. We can choose whether that's going to be something that governs us or whether we use it to actually strengthen us. So I think at the moment, I kind of realize that though I might be feeling perhaps a little bit scared, perhaps a little bit, kind of flummoxed or out of sync at the moment, this is a situation where that's not actually going to help me forward on this. I have to find an answer. And I think sometimes when you know that you have to find a way forward, it kind of helps because your brain starts to have to find the answer. If you've got any kind of get out clause that you don't actually have to find the answer, it's like if you're training for something, if you just go running occasionally and I'll go running today, I won't go running tomorrow, it's very difficult to do. Whereas if you've got an end goal, I have to get fit for this event. Right. It's much easier. So it's the point at the moment it's like And I think as well, often there's, the consequence of loss or the fear of loss can be a greater driver than the benefit of gain. So for instance, if I said, right, I've got £500,000 saved, I want to make twice that. That's a good driver. But if you have a situation where you say, I'm married, I've got 4 children, if I don't start bringing in income over the next few months, we could end up homeless. That's a much bigger driver. So then you move into the realm of you have to make this work. I mean, your business is perhaps slightly different, isn't it? Because you're, based in Britain at the moment, you've got a time period to make the business work. In some ways, that works to your benefit more because you have to solve that problem rather than just sitting there just thinking, oh, great, I can just be your passenger. Really.
I think what you're saying, and maybe rephrase it another way then, is you are changing your internal dialogue, your internal conversation. You are taking control of these thoughts. And we all have panic, right? When this first happened, there was fear. Oh my gosh, what's happening to the world? Followed by panic. Am I going to survive? We go down to the bottom of the triangle where everyone goes and buys toilet paper, right? Basic needs and stuff. And then we have to arrest the thoughts in our mind and we have to change the story. We have to say, no, this isn't going to destroy me. This is actually going to improve me if I can focus on, as you said, the race, the marathon, the goal. And then you set yourself goals, right? That's what I'm hearing you say. Yeah. And for those who are listening, Dean is a runner. What's your history in running?
I used to sprint many years ago. I was fairly high level. I was one of the guys you would see on the British Championships in the heats, getting thrashed by the big guys. So I was kind of in the second tier of runners. I used to sprint. Now I'm a lot older. I just run half marathons and distance stuff, and it's all
just. I don't even run for a bus, but he runs half marathons. But you have a goal, and that goal is what inspires you to get out the door and pound it. And so I think what I'm hearing you say is one of the things that you have found, a key you have found, is to be able to reset a goal and set the goals so that it draws you into keeping your mind on track. Would you agree?
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. Yeah, I think even prior to this though, I'd probably say every 5 to 6 weeks in my business over the last maybe 2 to 3 years, I've been taking time out, even if it's a day, a morning, something like that, just taking time out to kind of look outside of the business, look at it from the outside again, just to check that we're not just running around in circles. And then just, you often find something that you are doing is completely pointless. And there's other things that you should be doing. You look at the 80-20 rule and constantly goals have to be changed, don't they? Completely.
That's interesting. I know we're running out of time a little bit. Well, I think we'll maybe do another one of these podcasts more on this subject, the 80-20 rule, because I think that's what these times really start to put in the magnifying glass. How much time we've spent doing things that actually aren't that productive, and trying to look at. I mean, I love the two words effectiveness and efficiency, and how we spend more of our life trying to be efficient when actually we should be trying to be more effective.
Yeah, that's right.
So we got a couple more minutes just to finish up. Dean, you've, as I said at the beginning, tenacity, resilience are words that I would certainly encapsulate under your name, Dean. For those that are maybe listening to this, stumbled on it, and are just struggling, just saying maybe it's the first time they've had this rug pulled from their feet and they're young or new in the entrepreneurial world, maybe a couple words of advice for them.
Oh gosh, okay. I think probably look at anybody who seems to be doing well in any particular area and go back in their history and you will see a time where they weren't doing well. So basically they have learned to move forward on it. I mean, if you look at, for instance, look at people like Tony Robbins, something like that, who's on stage and he's talking to loads of people and everybody loves him now because he seems to be doing well. But there was a time where he would have been in the same place that you might be now, where everything looked like a failure, things just weren't working out. But actually somehow he or she or that person was able to get through that situation. So pretty much everybody you can think of who has done well or is doing well was at a point where things weren't going well. So basically to kind of recognize that it's quite normal, it's quite natural. There's no need to be feeling guilty or anything. But there are tools like, as we said, sort of planning and stuff, just kind of dealing with emotions and stuff, 80-20 rule, just analyzing or just getting somebody to actually talk with you, to help you to actually get through that situation. You will come through that situation if you want to do so. So just really just look at everyone else and you find, hey, pretty much everybody's been in this boat before. It isn't just you or me or any of us. We've all been there before.
That's fantastic, Dean. So to those who are listening, the message here is that we're all in the same boat. We all will be able to survive. We all will pull out. We're all going to fail forward, not fail backwards. And the greatest entrepreneurs out there started with the very smallest of ideas. And they just had the tenacity, like my good friend Dean here, to keep doing until we eventually get to where we want to go. Dean, it's been great chatting to you.
Thanks, Dave.
And thanks for the podcast today.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. Many thanks.